So here at the 165-pound weight class, we have Eric Roach for Indiana and Chad Welch, the number 7 in the country for Purdue. The third Welch brother we will see today, the final one, two-time NCAA championships qualifier in Welch. Roach a little bit less experienced on that front. Not a ton of experience this season, only 2 and 3 so far. He's only competed in, he had only competed in tournaments until IU wrestled Michigan just a few weeks ago, but he did get defeated by Garrett Sutton of number 6 Michigan at the time.
Yeah, the redshirt senior, not really the senior season he would have hoped for.
And last year he did not compete due to an injury, so he is kind of still working past that, trying to work his way back to his quality of wrestling that we saw in his sophomore season. He did have a 17-15 record. That's a little bit more what we were expecting from Roach, but Welch working around, still trying to get the takedown, but nothing awarded due to the arm that Roach has in. Welch got the arm free. Still no points, but he moves into the single leg, looking for a front trip, it looks like. He'll just do a modified dump on that one. Now Roach on bottom. Welch leading 2-0 with a minute left to go here in the first period.
Yeah, Welch is a 2-time NCAA championships qualifier and a Big Ten championships place winner. So a lot of experience under his belt. Number 7 ranked.
Does have a lot of experience heading into this year. 51-46 record in his first 3 seasons. So he's definitely improved this year. Now 23-4. He's really made a jump this year, and his number 7 ranking has kind of showed that. Roach still working on the arms, trying to roll the wrists under. Roach trying to still build up a base. Roach made his senior debut at the Reno Tournament of Champions, where he went 2-2, and that was back in December. Hasn't seen a ton of action since then, only the one match against Michigan. So it is interesting that they decided to go with Roach today. Coach Goldman told me before the match that was who they were going with. I was a little surprised.
Yeah, we were expecting to see, obviously, either Eric Roach or Martin Bryce, but Bryce is the guy they've really been going with this year, but decided to change that up today.
Martin, a very strong wrestler. He's done well so far this season, but I think an interesting decision. He did wrestle against Iowa on Friday, fell to Patrick Rhodes 4-2, so he might just be a little bit shaken up from that, probably trying to get some rest going.
Not a bad decision coming down to the end of the year, where they want to make sure that they are fully ready to go come tournament time. And
I think we mentioned this earlier. Indiana did have a match against Iowa on Friday, but it was at Iowa. So they wrestled at 8 p.m., got done around 10, and then got on the bus and came home to Bloomington. That is a long night.
That is a very long night. And on the opposite hand, Purdue has had a week off, so they have had plenty of time to prepare for this matchup and get rest and healthy.
And I think that's why so far in this matchup we've seen Purdue come away with more victories, because they have had time to rest, they've had time to scout. Indiana kind of had to do double duty this week with Iowa, and they were obviously focused on Iowa because that's a much, much stronger matchup. Iowa ranked number 2 in the country, a lot of ranked wrestlers to look forward to. This one may have caught them a little off guard coming and returning to Bloomington, but Indiana really had a tough weekend. But Purdue has had its fair share of tough weekends. They have faced off against the top of the Big Ten as well, and pretty much anyone in the Big Ten is a threat. as we have seen throughout the season. Penn State, Iowa, both sitting at the top. Michigan and
Ohio State.
All very strong contenders. Indiana, probably one of the weaker teams. They're sitting at 8th right now in the standings, but they're a lot weaker than Penn State, and there's a huge gap in there.
Yeah, there is a huge gap in there, but this Big Ten conference is just so solid in all of the rankings. I mean, they are just from top to bottom. They have a pretty solid teams in this Big Ten.
I mean, we saw the differences when Indiana faced off against Iowa, coming off a 45-0 loss to Iowa. They got absolutely pounded, and really, there were only a couple matches that were even close.
Yeah, Iowa really put a beating on them. Not something that IU would have really hoped for, but Iowa proved that the number 2 spot is theirs, and that's where they deserve to be.
And it was safely theirs. Still undefeated at 9-0 is Iowa. All kinds of talent coming there, and I believe they'll be facing off against more strong teams later in the season as well. Purdue, looking ahead, they will have a matchup at Michigan, and then they will face off against Rutgers and SIU, Edwardsville, and Duke to finish off their season before the Big Ten championships. Indiana only has Rutgers and Gardner-Webb. So Rutgers is going to make the trip to Indiana, face off against Purdue and Indiana. They will have a strong test on their hands with both squads, but Rutgers coming into the Big Ten and proving that they're not a bad team either. They're, I believe, in the top 15 in the national rankings.
Yeah, they've really stepped up coming into the Big Ten with all these other big squads that are leading the Big Ten, and they're really proving their own.
And I think just having the name Big Ten associated with your university for wrestling is a draw, because the Big Ten is just, as we've been talking about, incredibly, incredibly strong on a national level for wrestling, and having the name Big Ten just really makes a difference for Rutgers, because they've had an incredible recruiting class come in the last couple of years because they knew that was going to happen. So Roach now on top, trying to work a little bit of a crossface going on, and nothing going on, so they'll reset in the middle in referee's position. Welch still leading 2-0. Hasn't been a ton of scoring going on in this match, but some good conversation about Big Ten wrestling going on here, and for the broadcasters, gotta love it.
You betcha. Yeah, but like you said, not too much. We're already here in the third period, and Welch is only up 2 here.
30 seconds remain.
It's a little bit surprising to me. I think Roach didn't look quite as experienced coming in, and I mean, he is still counting down the riding time. He's not going to cut into the lead too much. I think it will be over a minute at the end of the third period, so Welch looks like he will be winning this one unless Roach does something crazy here on top. Roach did go to the Big Ten championships at 149 pounds his sophomore year, but since then hasn't seen a ton of action.
And that is partially due to his injury that he suffered, so
yeah,
he has been slowed down due to that injury.
So Chad Welch will get the victory for the 165-pound weight class.